Hey guys, welcome to another video. So before I show you how we got to this point, let's do a quick pass and see what has been done so far. Here we go. Here I installed a flywheel weight for the YZ250, so if you're interested in a how-to video of doing that, I've put the link on the description below. Alright, that's it. Now you're caught up, let's go to part 2 of the YZ250 build. Okay, so on the last build video, I did mention that I was concerned that this aftermarket shifter might hit the bolt holding onto the ignition cover. So let's go ahead and see. So putting a flywheel weight and using an aftermarket ignition cover meant that I would need to use a spacer that makes the ignition cover stick out. So I'm concerned that when I shift up, it'll hit the bolt nearest to the shifter. Okay, so our fears are confirmed. It does hit that bolt. So I'm thinking changing the bolts with one that has a smaller head might solve the problem. So right now we can still install the shifter because we can easily change the bolts of the ignition cover even with the shifter on. Okay, so now let's look at the clutch cover. So this is obviously the old one. Let's go ahead and see how it would look like with the aftermarket cover. Alright, you gotta admit, that looks good. So here's a quick tip for you guys. So it's good practice that when you put gaskets like this, you put a little grease on the surface so that the gasket doesn't fall out, especially when you're trying to bolt in the cover. So look what happens. There you go. Gasket sticks, doesn't fall out, doesn't need an extra hand. So it's going to be a lot easier when you put on the cover and bolt it on. When tightening your bolts, it's also good practice to do a cross pattern when tightening your bolts. This way, you avoid warping your cover. Okay, now we move on in installing the rear brakes. Since we used an aftermarket shifter, it's just right to use an aftermarket brake pedal as well. So this brake pedal from Tusk not only looks good, but it is also functional. It comes with a folding tip and a brake saver cable. Okay, now that's in, let's move on to the Kickstarter. Okay, here you'll see me just go through all the bolts, making sure every bolt is nice and tight. Okay, moving on to the rear suspension. Here we've also installed the rear aluminum chain guide. Okay, now that's done, we're moving on to the oversized aluminum radiator from GPI. These things look sweet. Just by looking at these things, you already know this is a lot better than stock. So aside from the increased water capacity, the aluminum around the radiator itself are more robust, which means it has more impact resistance when you crash. Okay, now we move on to installing the carburetor back into the bike. This next part of the install is more of an aesthetic piece, so I'm replacing the brake clevis with a aftermarket blue anodized one. I know it's a small detail and doesn't even make the bike go any faster, but I really believe and think that it's the attention to these small details is what's gonna make this bike stand out. Alright, so I'm gonna be ending this video here for now, so I hope you enjoyed and I'll see you on the next video.